Now let's go ahead and take a look at this definition here. Now, square roots of a, if a is a positive real number, okay, then square root of a is your positive or principal square root of a, of course, and negative square root of a will be the negative square root of a, okay. Now here's another property that will help you on later on in this section. For any non-negative a, if you take the positive root or the principal root and multiply it into itself, which basically means if you take the square of a square root, your answer is going to be the number a that you started out with, okay. So if you take square root of a and multiply it into square root of a, your answer is going to be just the number a, okay. And same thing happens with a negative root. If you take negative square root of a times negative square root of a, again, since you're multiplying two negative numbers, your answer will be positive. And again, you can see that your radical symbol is gone and you're left with just the value a. Another important thing you want to keep in mind is that the square root of 0 is always going to be 0, okay? There's going to be no other value that you can get out of it. So square root of 0 is also 0. All right, so let's see if we can solve some examples here. We're going to try and find some square root values here. Let's say square root of 49. Now again, you will see that I am using the positive square root symbol here. So that means you're trying to find only the positive root. So what do you think square root of 49 should be? In terms of a positive square root, you will see that 7 times 7 gives you 49. So your positive square root will be 7. If they had asked us to find the negative square root, then this answer would have been negative 7. How about negative square root of 121? Now you can clearly see in this one they're asking us to find only the negative square root. So again, you want to try and see what number multiplied by itself will give you 121 as your answer. And that number, of course, is going to be 11. 11 times 11 gives you 121. And since they were asking us for a negative square root, you will go ahead and put a negative sign on your answer. Okay, if you don't put the negative sign, your answer will be wrong, because without the negative sign, you are saying this is a positive root and they are asking you to find a negative root. How about something like this? Negative square root of 49 over 36. Now you can see this is a little bit of a different example. Instead of using just a whole number here, they're giving us a fraction inside your radical sign. Now if you look at 49 and 36, you can see both these numbers will have a root. And again, we're interested only in finding the negative square root of this number. So your answer is going to be negative. Since your radicand itself is a fraction, your answer here also is going to be a fraction. Now we already did square root of 49 right here. We know it's 7, so same thing here. And since we're trying to find a negative square root, I've already gone ahead and put our negative sign here. What about 36? What number multiplied into itself will give you 36? And of course that number is going to be 6 right here. Okay, and that's all really you have to do. If they told you, just like we did in the first example when we found square roots of 64, if they say find all the square roots, in that case, you find the positive and the negative. Here they're asking you only to find a certain specific one. Okay, all right, let's look at a couple more examples here. Now in this example, you are doing something completely different. You are trying to find the square, not the square root. You're trying to find the square of each radical expression, okay? So let's see what exactly are we doing here. Let's say you have square root of 4 given to you, and they are telling us find the square of each radical, which means that you take the radical expression and you square it. And this is where that property will come into play that I was just showing you a little bit ago. Okay, right here. Okay, so here you will, for these examples, you'll use this property. If you take a radical and you square it, and if it's a positive root, you get, the radicand as your answer. If you take a negative square root and square it, you still get the radicand as your answer. So use this property when you're trying to do examples of this form, okay? Alright, so we're taking square root of 4 and we're squaring it. So from that property, we can see that your answer here is going to be only the number 4. Why does that happen? Why does this, square and square root give you 4? Again, remember, square root is the opposite operation of squaring, okay? If you square a number and you do its opposite, that would be finding its square root. It's the same thing as if you multiply a number by something and then divide that number again by the same number, you end up with the original, number that you started out with. That's the same thing here. So basically your square cancels out your square root since they are opposite operations, and whatever number was in the radicand, that's what your answer comes out to be. So let's try and see what you will end up with if you try and square negative square root of 196. Okay, so the same thing, we'll go ahead and square this radical here, and just like we did for the first one, your square cancels out your square root, okay, and negative times negative gives you positive, so your answer again here will be just the radicand, which will be 196. Alright, we'll go ahead and